Welcome to another conversation for the Millionairess magazine and the Millionairess movement. I'm Amanda Jane Clarkson, Editor-in-Chief, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the lovely and inspirational Ziba Lennox, fashion blogger, Latina mom, dancer, speaker, creator of Dancing Mama Style and co-founder of Chicago's Marzi Dance Fitness for more than 11 years, and she's a lifelong ballerina. Ziba shares with the world all the things she loves with a lot of fashion, fitness, boss lady tips, and the places that she goes. Ziba has 2 boys and loves to share a lot about being a working mama, which is a super popular subject. Welcome to Millionairess magazine, Ziba. It is lovely to share this time with you. Why not share your story?
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely a delight. And why not share your story of where you are now? How did it actually begin to being exactly in the spot you are today?
It's so funny you asked that because I feel like my whole life has always been like a big, giant circle. You know, like I start somewhere and then I kind of go the long way around and then I end up back to where I was in a different way, usually a better way, but there's a lot of like full circles that I've made. I always wanted to dance ever since I was a little girl. So the fact that I'm still dancing now at 41
Wow.
is very, very humbling, and I don't take it for granted because it's I've been able to keep going physically, but also just keep the business alive at this point in time, which has been very, very challenging for small businesses. But always wanted to dance. It still is something that I always tell like my clients and my dancers. I'm like, don't tell anybody, but I would do this for free. I love it so much, and I really I can be having the worst day, but once I teach my class and once I share movement with the class and see their progression, see how their mood totally elevates, it just gives so much meaning to my life. And when I was obviously a youngster, I didn't really envision this. I just loved to dance, specifically ballet. So I, did the whole professional thing, very serious, didn't really have much of a like childhood or, a teenage kind of life. Like sometimes like my husband will say, well, don't you think you missed out on a lot of things? And honestly, I don't, because I was doing exactly what I wanted to do, which was dance. But I did have to make compromises. Like I didn't have the high school experience. I didn't have like the Girl Scout experience, the cheerleading squad, because I always had to focus all of my energies into dance, and then that it was always a love. My sister, who's 2 years younger, also did it with me. So we owned the business together, and we're always kind of like hand in hand with each other with that. I feel like my sister is like a big part of my overall story. So that's why I want to bring her in right here. And then I just took us some time away to go to business school because I loved it so much, but it felt like a very kind of brutal type of career to give yourself to 100% of the time. I mean, I loved it enough to do it, but I think I love myself just a little bit more to not just like be like, okay, this is all I'm going to do with my life, and I hope for the best, because the arts in general are very, very discretionary. You're cool and hot one minute, and then you're nobody the next. And specifically for dance, like I think that I tended to get injured more often. I tended to just have that kind of whole thing. So I just thought, what, I feel really nervous about not, doing something else. So even though I kept dancing my life the whole time, I went to business school, quit dancing, which was awful. I didn't dance for 9 months, and I felt like an alien in my body. And so interrupt me anytime. I don't know, I don't know if this is kind of what you want to be hearing, but but went to business school, met my husband there, and then just kind of started doing corporate America things, like for Target and Best Buy, doing was a financial analyst. I was a marketing analyst. I was doing all those things. And I started dancing again, very low key, just kind of like on a regular basis, but just like, because it made me feel like myself again, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for anybody. Like once you find, whether it's singing or playing an instrument or knitting, whatever it is that makes you feel like yourself, I feel like it's so important for women especially to always carve out time and do that. So that's what I was trying to do. And then kind of in the midst of all this, I had the opportunity to move. And so my sister and I were like, this is 2009. Like, I think that we should open up this business in Chicago. So that's what we did. And it was not strategic. It was not super, even though I had all this business experience, it was so like impulsive, you know, let's just open this up. We found the perfect space in Chicago, and we just didn't really think it would succeed because things weren't like, boutique studios were not really like really hot back then. It was just like you had yoga studios and you had big gyms, and then that was it. So we just thought, I don't know, let's see if anybody comes. It was very random. And seriously, the first day, I mean, we were new to Chicago, so we didn't even have a network to tap into. It was so random. And then luckily, one person came in the second day, then two the next day. And then before I knew it, people were telling other people about it. And this is before like Instagram and Facebook ads and, you know,
Yes.
before you could really get your name out, you know?
Yes.
And so we just got super fortunate that the community that did come in was just telling everybody else, or like, you know, doing Yelp. I think Yelp reviews were kind of like the big thing then. So still doing that. I think kind of along the way, I, you know, became a mother. We opened up 3 locations. It's been just such a wonderful journey. It's been very, very difficult, I will say. It's you know, I think business ownership is not for the weak of heart. Like you have to really, you can't really do it just because you think you're going to get really rich. You know, you have to really love it. You have to really like want to wake up and get excited to do it every day, I think, to be successful. So have had a lot of like ups and downs, but generally like a nice little, you know, uptick. And then a couple of years ago, I used to actually have a blog for the studio. It was called Ballerina Bottega, and I would always enjoy writing, and I put fashion things on there. And then I stopped writing when I had my second kid. And then once he got a little older, I was like, you know what, I really missed like talking about fashion and doing that. And it was at the point in time where I was like, I feel like I need to carve out something else for me other than just, again, dance and the fitness part of it. So I hadn't done it. I had wanted to do it for a long time, but it's one of those things where you're a little bit self-conscious about what other people will think, you know, if you start posting pictures of your outfits, you know.
Of course.
It might not be outfits or your plate of food or whatever it is that you want to share with the world, you know, or your boss, you know, boss babe empowerment quotes. Like you kind of feel like, what is, you know, what are people going to think? And so once I got over that problem and I thought, you know what, they can think whatever they want. It's not my problem. Then I was like, okay, let's go. And so I just worked just as hard at that as I had at the business. And so, you know, 2.5, almost 3 years later, this is pretty much 3 years later, this is where we're at now. So I love it so much. It's a great, it's really 50-50 now. 50% of my energies are on the fitness business and 50% is, but they're both full-time career. I mean, I work 24/7 on my terms. Like I'm a very present mom, and I try to be there for the kids and stuff, but you know, it's still, it's really hard work. And so it's not, I don't have like a large team doing things for me. I have support people here and there, but it's just hard work. But it's full circle because I'm still dancing. And I forgot to tell you the part about when I was younger, I was just like an avid Vogue reader, collector. Like my room had an obscene amount of fashion magazines. Like when I wasn't dancing, I was reading fashion. So I'm kind of like right back where I started.
That's it. It sounds to me, though, there's a couple of things you touched on there that I want to talk about now, is that you stayed true to your values, you know, your highest values in life were dancing and taking care of self. And then you took that into a business. And I agree, I've had 14 different businesses, and business is not for the faint-hearted. I 100% agree. It's hard and 24/7. But, there's women out there reading this and watching this conversation who want their own business, perhaps have children, but they think it's going to be easy and they're just going to work a few hours. And however, they still have a burning desire like you and I did or still have. What would you say to that woman that's kind of sitting on the fence thinking, oh my God, will I jump and follow my dream, or will I sit here and stay safe?
That's a great question. And I think that that's probably a question that you probably ask yourself whenever you are inspired to have the next thing, right? And I'll just give a small example. So like last week, it just dawned on me, I need a YouTube channel, and I'm way behind. I don't have a YouTube presence. I have no business there. I don't know what I'm doing. And I almost got discouraged. So I'm like, 41, like how long, what's my end goal? And I think the answer to that is the time is going to pass anyway, and I will, 3 years from now, I will have thought, what would have happened if I would have started that day? Where would I be now? And of course, we don't know the answer, but I think usually when I have these kinds of burning desires, a great word or great phrase, is you really do have to have a burning desire to be able to carve out time in your busy life. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, or whatever the case might be, even if you already have another career and you're, you work for a company, but you want to start something else, that burning desire will get you up in the middle of the night, just like motherhood, right? Like it'll get you up in the middle of the night when you don't want to get up. It'll force you to stay on schedule with, what? I told myself that I was going to do 2 videos this week, or I was going to do 5 Instagram posts, or, or I was going to develop a whole new workout that, so it's like, but it has to be, like you said, a burning desire. And I think that allowing yourself to be a beginner too, and knowing that, I think a lot of women wait till like, I'm going to be so embarrassed of that first thing that I put out there. I look back at my first Instagram posts or my first classes that I remember teaching. I mean, I shudder, but
we all do.
But it's amazing, because then you're like, wow, like, but look at her, look at that, look at old me go. Like, I clueless, but there she is showing up. It's not going to look like you want it to, but I think that allowing yourself to be the beginner and, asking the dumb questions and also being realistic. So like, it's not realistic for me to maybe grow as fast as I'd like to on some other channel, and that's fine. But as long as I'm like, I'm going to show up this many times a week, and I'm going to see what happens, and kind of committing to that. And I think those are key things, is not, not burning out, not fizzling out before you even make a mark. Would you agree with that?
100%. And what I'm picking up here, a lot of women feel, and I'm obviously one of them, that everything has to be perfect.
Yes.
We are so conditioned to being perfect before we start. So we wear this mask, and we're so fearful of what other people are going to think and say about us, point the finger, say, who do you think you are? And you just got to start. I mean, I look back at some of my work and it's so embarrassing. But if we don't start, I mean, life does pass us by so quickly, doesn't it? And I just jump in and just keep your horse blinkers on. Look to the front, don't look to the back.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy, because I think that it is good to gain inspiration and to look around and see, like, this is my playing field, but at the same time also not getting so bogged down on like, but I'm not where she is there. The comparison too is, it's not fair, because I always tell people, like, you don't know, you're only seeing one thing. You're not seeing what helped that person, male or female, get there. Like, Did they have more money? Did they have more time? Did they have more surgery? I don't know. Like, you don't know, like you just don't, it's so unfair. Like, you're like, but I don't look like that. Or I'm not, I don't live there in that kind of house. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't know everything that happened leading up to that point. So I think that putting on the blinders and just staying forward, and also drowning out the noise of, sometimes it's like people that are very close to you that are not supportive, which I think is really, really sad. And it's come up. And the only reason I'm bringing it up now, I haven't ever brought it up in any interview because I think it's very negative. But the other day I had a conversation with a wonderful Chicago blogger as well. She just wrote a book and I bought it, and I gave her a call because I'm so excited to read it. And she said, you know what? It's so funny, but all the people that are strangers are so much more supportive than some of my own friends and family. I was like, you know what? Like, I have heard this before, and I know that I experienced it because, and so I think that kind of, you have to be prepared for that, whatever it is that you might be doing, whether it's, you want to start like a new shampoo, and then your whole family's going like, what are you thinking? There's 100 other shampoos, and like, I'm not going to buy yours. And so I think that, and shampoo's just what came to mind, but it can be anything. And I think that just preparing yourself that you might not find a lot of support, and not letting that discourage you, because
let's talk about that for a second. I'd like to dig on that because it's so true. We call it the black crab syndrome. You might have heard of that, when one crab, you know what a crab is, like a crawly sea thing. Yep. It goes into a pot, and it can crawl out, but once another crab gets into the pot, if any of the crabs try and crawl out, the others pull it back and eventually pull its legs off and kill it. It's actually true. And so just like in life, we have what we call the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. You might have heard of that. But, when you're changing your life, you're going for your goals and your dreams, other people are not so supportive because, A, they don't want to see you fail. They don't want to see you go through the pain. Maybe they don't like you changing. Maybe they feel a little bit jealous that they're living their conformative life and you're going for the stars. There's so many different reasons, and this is a big reason, I believe, why so many women hold themselves back. They have these beautiful dreams, but they're so frightened of losing friends, family, what people will say about them, and they really stop themselves. And it's such a shame, because I've no doubt you've had to overcome these things as well. Have you had to how do you overcome the naysayers, or the people who go, Ziba, what are you doing? You should be happy. You've got 2 boys. Why don't you just stay home and be a mum? What do you say to people? Why would you start another business? What are you thinking?
No, it's true. I think that it's interesting. So usually when it's people that don't know you that well that criticize you, you're able to tell yourself that's okay. They don't know me. So like, I have to, like the other day I put out some post and I got a lot of negative criticism about it. And I thought to myself, these people don't know me. They don't understand where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And it's too bad, but I can't bring them up to speed at 41 years of like who I am. Like, it's kind of like face value, take it or leave it. That's okay.
Yeah.
But when it's your own family or close friends that you grew up with that criticize you, it stings a lot more, because you're like, wait, you know me, you know what I'm about, when I've been there for you, you've been there for me, like in other situations. And so it feels a lot worse. And I think that you're right. I think sometimes people don't want to see you, don't want to see you get hurt, and don't want to see you fail and kind of go through that. I think more often than not, it sometimes reflects like people sometimes wish, maybe not, they don't want to be doing what you're doing, but they have something that they want to do, and they're not allowing themselves to do it. And so then they resent you for doing it, And so it's too bad. But I think that if you're able to just say, okay, obviously my intentions are, they're not going to hurt it, it's not going to hurt anybody. This is, you can either support me or not. And I think my mom was very helpful, because I really thought about, I had built my website, I had changed my Instagram name, everything. And then I was like, Mom, what if people are just like, what is she thinking? And she was like, Ziba, she's like, look at all the people that are doing it successfully. Do you think they care what people thought of them? Maybe they did, but like they did it anyway. And that would really help me, like, yeah, like it's true. And there's always a price for something, but I think that obviously it's very important if you have a significant other that they're on board also. I think it would be very difficult, if it's possible, but it would be very difficult if in the long run, your spouse or significant other were not on board because you're sharing their life with them. And I think, and that was something when I first told my husband about, well, he actually was very supportive of the dance studio, but then once I opened it up, we had a rough time because he was not used to business owner, passionate Ziba. He was used to corporate, very balanced life Ziba. Like, I come home and then I go to dinner and then everything's organized. I have, like, it was very, different person. And so I think he really struggled. Like, once he saw me pouring so much energy into the business, he was like, who is this? And, kind of have to come, to mid-ground and be like, okay, these are some tweaks I need to make so that he doesn't feel that way. But then when it came to my social media channels and stuff, he was really confused. He didn't understand it. He's not on any social media, so he didn't understand what I was talking about. But he's come a long way, and it means so much to have his support and, basically turned him into my photographer.
I saw that. And yet there's so many women out there, Ziba, who don't feel that they have the support. I mean, I have an incredibly supportive husband of 22 years, like every marriage. We have our ups and downs, but he's super, super supportive, and he does all my photography and all this sort of stuff. And I am no techie person, but there's so many women out there that have no one in their corner based on that. And they have their dreams. They want to start a business. They want to go for it, or even, might be in sport or something social. How important do you think it is to surround yourself with mentors and masterminds who support you when you don't feel like you've got anybody out there?
Yeah, it's everything, because I think that you can only learn so much in a vacuum. You can only lock yourself in a room and watch how-tos and read books and know how to do something. I think that's building relationships without assuming anything. I think that that's what I've had the best result with is, befriending people in kind of the niche or world that you want to be in is really key, in a very friendly way, both people that have already arrived and also people that are on your level that are trying to get there as well. And also people underneath you. I think that it's really important to have all of that. But once you're just starting out and you feel, I think that was one thing that was very surprising to me about coming onto Instagram as a fashion blogger is I realized that if I gave love, if I followed people, if I commented on them, then they did the same, and of course there's competition and everything, but there's really more, or there's Facebook groups dedicated to almost any like little bubble that you want to be part of, and finding those little Facebook groups were key, like who's talking about this very specific thing, of people my level that are trying to do this thing, and kind of going and freaking out with them and being like this happened today, and like what do I do, or like what happens if this happens. Maybe it's not on Facebook, maybe it's somewhere else, but finding that spot where you're able to have like that very non-judgmental objective opinion about what it is that you're doing with like-minded people is really key. When it comes to finding mentors, I think sometimes it starts with paying coaches, that you trust, and it's not going to always be magically somebody that's like, oh, you're so talented, I want to talk to you for free. You know, like sometimes that happens. Sometimes people will like be amazing and be so selfless and give you time and see that you're trying really hard. But most of the time, like for me, I identified a couple of people that that were like, you know what, I think that I want to talk to them because they know what they're talking about. And so getting some consultations and talking and hearing and just asking hard questions like, what do you really think of what I'm doing? You know, and not being afraid to get the harsh criticism because you don't grow otherwise, you know. And sometimes you hear stuff you don't want to hear, but then you're like, you know what, they're right. Like, and sometimes they're not always right. Sometimes they may be wrong. And I've had that too, where somebody doesn't give me the right advice and it's okay. I was able to identify it. But sometimes I think like, you know, as a woman, especially, like, you know, the truth by the way it feels. I think you've probably seen that quote. You really do. So if somebody tells you something and it feels like the truth, and you're like, yep, I know that, you know. Whereas if somebody tells you something, I'm like, no, I don't agree, or that's not really the truth. So I think that that's been very helpful. But yeah, I think back to your question, it's really, really key to just allow yourself to open up your network. And I'm not naturally an extrovert, which even though I appear to be one, like it's very hard for me to go and tap on somebody's shoulder and be like, I would like to talk to you about it, you know. But I think that the first time is really hard. The second time it's hard. The third time it's a little easier. It just gets a little easier to reach out for help.
I just want to touch on that. So many women, and you know, I've been one of them, just feel that they can't ask for help because many of us are brought up to think, well, you know, we're multitaskers, we can work things out for ourselves, we don't need help, we're trying to do everything, be everything to everyone. And yet when we're trying to grow a business or get to that next level in life, whatever it is, it could be sport or business or relationships or financially, anything, we hold ourselves back from putting our hand up and saying, who can help me? Why do you think we do this? What do you think it boils down to, the biggest problem underneath?
I think that you're right. I think that because we are such great natural multitaskers, I think that we take on a lot more than we realize. You know, before we know it, we've already taken all this stuff and we're like, oh, you know, oh no, I really need help. But then once you realize it and not reaching help, I think it's so personality based. I see some women, like my sister, for example, is great at asking for help. She teaches me a lot about it. And you know, we come from the same upbringing. We come from the same ballet background. She's an engineer. I'm a business person, but you know, I think is so personality based. And I think that you just need to know you need to start. I think a lot of it boils down to trust. We don't trust that somebody is going to do as good of a job as us.
Yeah.
Which is usually my problem. I'm like, I can't imagine that you're going to do it the way I would want to do it. And I think that you don't have to go all out, but starting in a place where we all have places that don't energize us. We all have things that we're not good at and that don't energize us, right? Mm-hmm. So starting there and asking for help there in a very small way so that you gain confidence. And it can be as easy as having your husband put the kids to bed, you know. He's not going to do it like you. I know my husband does. Disaster every time. But you know what? Sometimes, not every time, many times. I'm like, what is happening? It's like a frat party up here.
You're going to listen to this? You'll go, I heard what you said about me.
I know, right? So even if it starts that small, or even if, you know, the delivery service isn't going to make the food that you would want to, or if somebody's not going to, you know, do your social media channel the way that you want to, or whatever it might be. I think that's you just have to pick your battles. Like for me, one thing that I don't ever outsource is like my writing or my posting, because I need it to be so on brand to me that I can't. So for me, that I can't let anybody else do that. but I can let somebody else do my Pinterest. I can let somebody else do my search engine optimization. I can let somebody else, manage certain things at the studio that I am not good at managing, So I think it's just, and it took a long time to get there, but I think starting small and just saying, what can I let go of that I hate doing or that I'm not good at?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. I've trained myself that two of my favorite words are delegate and delete. And
Yes.
having 14 different businesses over my years, I've just learnt that I'm not good at everything. And I just go, what do I love to do? What makes my heart sing? And I put my horse blinkers on. I say, I'm just going to do this. I do mentoring and speaking and, this sort of stuff. And then I have a great team around me, and I've learned to let go and trust. And I think for a woman, it's easier said than done, but oh my God, it's just given me such a new lease of life. I feel so much better. And I urge any woman to write down everything that you don't love to do in your life or business and see how you can delete it or delegate it. I mean, how good do you feel, Ziba, when you just clean out a closet or clean up your bench? I don't need this stuff, delete. Friends or people who are pulling you down, delete.
Love it.
Delegate them out to somebody else.
Yeah, they're your problem. No, I'm just kidding.
Can't do that with the kids or the husband or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The people who don't want to see you shine or just clutter or just jobs, we get so stuck in our mundane habits. And sometimes when I look at all the things I've done in a day, I'll go, why am I even doing that? Just because I did it for the last 10 years, why am I doing it? Doesn't even make sense.
No, exactly.
So delegate and delete. Now, let's just talk about, you've got 2 kids, husband, blogger, dance studio, like a business, so 3 studios. Times of adversity. I have no doubt you have many times of challenge and adversity. What is it that drives you to get back up, put your big girl courage pants on, and just keep going?
That's such a great question. And it's not my best trait, but I am so competitive.
Well, that's great.
I am very competitive. And I think that when I look back at when I've had bumps in my business or whatever it might be, the catalyst was always being hurt by someone, or being betrayed in business or having a disappointment. Whenever that happens, it's like something in me fires up and I'm like, okay, bring it. I just get like, I get fired up, and it's really not about looking at everybody that's like me and be like, I'm going to be better than you. And it's not about that. It's about being better. It's so cliche, but it truly is about how am I a better version of myself every day in the studio, in my content, in how, everything. So, and that's truly the only recipe for success, because nobody else is going to be you. Nobody else is going to be me. We're all so unique and we bring such different things to the table. So it's so crazy to me when somebody gets really competitive with you, because you're like, you're not me, and I'm not you. So I think I mean competitive just in terms of like, you're not going to see me fail, even though you try to bring me down. I mean it in that way, because we've had a few heartbreaks throughout the years, either people like opening up studios that were like down the street from us, like stealing our clients, like a few times over. And each time I'm like, goodbye, good luck, this is hard,
Yes, exactly.
Be better. And I'm still going to be better, not than you. I'm still going to be better than me, because obviously you wanted to do what I was doing because I'm good at what I'm doing. So now I'm going to be better, or, a lot of it happens in disappointments with other people, but sometimes it's in yourself and like not executing the way that you wanted to and having that be a disappointment. Like we just had to close one of our studios down because of COVID. We could have held on to next year to see if anybody came back. It was the one downtown Chicago. It's a very lovely studio. And it was always packed with people, you know, going to work, but people aren't going to the office anymore, you know? So downtown Chicago studio isn't really, and you know, it was not fun. It was very heartbreaking. I had a couple of days where I was surprised at my emotions about it. But like, it's a disappointment. So I instead of like moping though, it's like, you know, I'm fired up. I want to do what I do have now, which is a fairly large online platform. I want to make it even better, you know. The studio that we do have, like, I want to make that amazing, you know. So it's like the disappointments and heartbreaks that fire me up.
You've got a great attitude, and you know, these are the messages I'm getting through. You know, we all have challenge, we all have pitfalls and potholes in life and business, but it's your attitude towards life and how you perceive what's going on, and just figuring out, and based on that, what we're talking about here, because I don't think anyone out there hasn't been affected by these times. Some see it as a blessing, some see it as a nightmare, depending on your perceptions and what's going on. But how important do you believe in times like we're living that women like us, you know, get together and support each other? Do you think it's important?
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think that, you know, we're all going through something. I like heard this podcast that said we all collectively as humans had a near death experience, you know, for lack of a better word. Like when the rug gets, you know, taken out from underneath your feet, and no matter who you were or how privileged you are or how well you adapted, your life is completely different now. You know, maybe not completely, but extremely different.
Yeah.
And I think that having that be a collective near-death experience, and especially like, I think that you need to have women in your corner. You need to support other women, and you need to do it every day. It doesn't have to be, I always tell people on my stories, like, it doesn't have to be like you become an activist, you know, like I'm a small business or a, you know, feminist activist. Like, it can be very small actions, like sharing your favorite small business or sharing your, you know, favorite journalist or your whatever it might be, like just talking about it. It doesn't have to be in a big way, and you don't have to have thousands of followers. It can be an email or a text to somebody else. Like, we all have a voice, and I think that that's another thing that we can't forget, no matter who you are or what you want to do in the future. And you think, but I don't have any followers, or I don't have any, you know, momentum, but you have a voice, and you are an influencer. Like, you can influence people no matter who you are. So I think that can mean also seeing, you know, I think that when I see other women supporting women, it inspires me, and I'm like, am I doing a good job? Like, what can I do better? And I think that that's something that my sister and I always had from the beginning of our dance career, because we were always pinned against each other, you know, like as dancers, you know, oh, like, I like the way that your sister dances better, or that she, or whatever. And even just in our studio, in our company, like, we could have been very competitive, but because we were all in it together in this very hard professional dancing environment, we all had to support each other. Like, if somebody's feet were bleeding, we'd all like be like looking for band-aids for them, or, you know, like, let me get you something to stop the bleeding, or, you know, let me get you the ibuprofen so you can go on stage. Or, and so, like, it's very much ingrained in us, like, to have that, okay, we're competing for the same part, and of course there's always going to be a slight underlying competition that's just like an even thing, but okay, we're there. But, like, you know, I will support you. And I think that when we open up the studio, that I think our clients and our community could really feel that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the people that like the way that felt are the people that have become so passionate and ambassadors for us, because they get it, and they feel like it's a click. It's like they feel at home. And those that are like, you know what, this is not for me. Like, it's like your cat and water. No, I don't like the way this feels. But we're so supportive, and that's something that I see a lot in our reviews. And whenever anybody writes us any note when they are leaving the city or whatever, and they're like, this is one of the most supportive communities I've ever been in, and it means so much because it hasn't been easy. And just to have somebody have such a positive impact in their life has meant so much. And I think it's just surrounding yourself with other people that believe in that, you know. And it doesn't even have to be in real life. It can be online.
Exactly.
You know, it online is so powerful. I have such great online friends that I talk to almost every day. Like, maybe not on DM, but like, that I know, I see them and I support them, they support me, and it's like, it's crazy. Like, I know, so it's like, I know more about you than like my friend from, you know, from college or whatever.
Exactly.
It's great.
It's kind of like, I feel that we're moving into a time where we're co-creating and cooperating instead of competing. That's how it sort of feels now, in so many different situations, because of, I guess, the world's changing, we're evolving, and I still believe in abundance and the universe expands. There's enough for all of us, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, no question. Yeah, I think I see it too. Like, I'm also on TikTok. I'm like,
Oh God, you're better than me. I've never even been on that. That's too much for me.
dang on to TikTok. I love TikTok. And
Cool.
you see so many people collaborating and, you know, giving each other shout outs, like, thanks for this awesome funny idea, this is me doing your funny idea. And it's just, you're right, it feels very collaborative versus like, well, I thought of that first, and like, you can't, you know, you're right. I think it's a sign of the times for sure.
Absolutely. So, Ziba, coming in towards the end of this amazing conversation, I could chat all day, but I have one final question. But before I get to that, do you have any other messages of inspiration for women reading this or watching this awesome conversation, of that they just go, wow, she's such an incredible influencer. She's a mum, she's beautiful, she's got businesses, husbands, she's got it all. What message of inspiration would you give another woman watching this conversation today?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I think that the number one thing that I believe in, that I do, that I see is so powerful, is committing to a workout schedule. I know it sounds so simple. It sounds maybe like, you know, underwhelming of a response, but I think that when you find something that you really love to do in like, oh, something that you love to move in, like, it doesn't have to be dance fitness, even though I highly recommend it.
I love
like,
the idea.
like, if you find it and you show up for yourself, maybe not every day, like no matter what, but most days, I think that makes you very, very mentally strong, because you're making that choice for yourself. It doesn't have to be 2 hours, you know, carve out what you can, 40 minutes, 5 times a week, show up, and that makes you so strong mentally, and of course, in turn, so strong physically. But I feel like whenever there's things in my life that happens that where I'm like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, or shoot, that really sucks, and to have that discipline to go back to and move has been life changing, because I'm able to kind of work out my feelings. I'm able to kind of know it's such a strength builder. It's really, I don't even know if mentally strong is the right word. There's just something about it that allows you to work through things that happen to and no matter who you are, you're going to come, something, you know, is going to happen where you're going to need a lot of inner strength. And I think that anything that you're doing, whatever it is that you want to start, if you don't have a fitness program right now, like, try to find one, because especially once you are on your way to becoming, you know, starting your business and you're launching and whatever it is, and all of the stuff that happens, the stress, the disappointments, the, you know, like this, to have that ritual is really, really grounding. And so I think that will carry you a long way.
I'm 100% with you. I believe it's, for mental health, for emotional health. I have an outfit. I come from a background of running, so I've been a runner since I was about 4 years of age.
Oh,
That's how I grew up, in a very athletic family as well. In fact, my
awesome.
sister, who works with me as well, ran in the Commonwealth Games. So, like, I didn't make it to that level, but I have
Wow.
this ritual, and I know that it's got me to where I am in my life, mentally and emotionally, in all directions. But I have a magic outfit that every single morning, no matter how I'm feeling, Ziba, and as a businesswoman and a busy lady, that sometimes you just feel, you wake up and you go, oh, wow. But when I put my magic outfit on, which is my workout gear, magic happens. I have a mental shift, I have a physical shift, and I'm on. It's like putting a dance outfit on. You're different, right, than having a
Yeah.
dressing gown on. If you stayed in your pajamas all day, you would not feel as fit and agile and mentally alert as if you had your dance costume on, right? It's just a
Absolutely.
magic outfit. And every single day, because I've got a gym downstairs in my home, I'm the first thing in the morning, and it's just a ritual and it's a discipline. And I know, and I would say this to anyone, and that's why I agree with you so strongly, that taking care of your body is the main thing to get you through, I believe, a successful lifestyle. There's no matter going for the money or the success or a great life if your body's broken down or you're mentally or emotionally broken. And I believe health and fitness is the key to having it all. That's my truth anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. And I can tell you're very fit. So that's awesome that you have that discipline as well.
Oh, yeah, I think it's just great advice, and it's not to ram it down anyone's throat, but you've seen it. I used to be a personal trainer for years and had studio as well. And wow, I got the privilege of training some very wealthy people at that time. But the privilege of the learning was that one guy in particular said, wow, Amanda, I would give all of my money to have your vitality and your fitness. He was a lot older than me at that time. And it was a great lesson for me, Ziba, to go, wow, no matter how busy I get in life or my business, I'm not going to stop my fitness routine. And I think that's such a great message that you shared with our ladies. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Now, I do have one final question, beautiful girl. What specifically would you love to be known and remembered for, Ziba?
Oh, um, yeah. I think just somebody who like squeezed everything out of life, you know? That's it. One of my photographer my first photographer that started out taking pictures of me for my blog, he's a good friend, and we've done a couple of trips together in New York when New York Fashion Week used to happen. And he would always, like, I could go with me and he'd be like, I honestly cannot keep up with you. Like you're like, you're insane, he's like, and I remember one time we met up at the end of the day and he's like, wow, you're like really squeezing everything out of life. Aren't you? And it was like the biggest compliment to me. I just thought that's amazing. Like, I suppose that I am, and I think that maybe that would be it, whether it's with relationships and, making an impact with them, or, just having the opportunities that I had and making something of them. That would probably be it.
Squeezing everything out of life. Ladies, write that down and ask yourself the question, are you squeezing everything out of life? Because again,
Short, like you said, it's short.
life is short.
Yeah, like you said,
Yeah,
but it goes by really quickly. It goes by. Like, I'm like, it's already been 11 years since we opened up the studio. I have 2 kids. This, that, like, it just boop, boop, goes.
One life, no regrets, I love to say. And even my number plates on my car say live now.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we're on the same brainwave then.
Yeah, well, life, I'm in my 50s. I remember when I was your age, I started my personal studio many, many years ago, and it's just gone like that. And I don't feel any different inside, but except when you look in the mirror, of course. But, this is why I take care of my health and fitness too, because I've still got a long way to go, Ziba.
Yeah, well, you look amazing. I could have never guessed you're in your 50s.
Oh, thank you. But I am. But you know, again, I have so much to achieve yet, as I know you do. And it's been such an inspiration, this conversation. I love the work that you do. I love your blogs and your website. And, you know, you've got an incredible following. Congratulations. Keep on doing what you're doing, because you are a true light for so many others who are looking towards you. And I want to say thank you for being part of the Millionairess magazine and the Millionairess movement, and impacting our ladies and the next generation of women to come. So thank you so much.
And thank you for the work that you're doing. I know you've talked to some really wonderful ladies. I think you talked to one of my good friends and fellow empowerer, Emmy. Did you talk to Emmy?
Emmy, which one? There's a few of them. What's her last name?
You know, I don't only know her on Instagram, Emmy in Style.
Oh, yes. I talk to her a lot. We're still in touch. She's so beautiful. She lives in California. I love her too. Emmy, if you're watching this, hello, gorgeous.
Oh, she's amazing. She was one of the first big bloggers that kind of like embraced me. I was like a little tiny, like nobody, and she embraced me. And I love everything she does. Now she's like a designer, and she's definitely a crush of mine.
She's absolutely beautiful. She's actually in our first magazine, and even now I'm still in touch with her. We talk. That's why I love what I do. So when I get to share and have new conversations, I've got friends all over the world, and hopefully this won't be the last time you and I meet. And you're always welcome. If you ever get to Australia, reach out and I'll come and visit you. And who knows, I might get back to Chicago one day. I might come and do a session in the dance studio. I don't think I'll be very graceful, but I'll have a go.
Make your first TikTok video.
Hey, as long as I don't walk out with bleeding feet, that scares me.
No.
My first date with Ziba. Oh.
So it's a hard sell for sure.
Oh, thank you, gorgeous lady. You have a wonderful afternoon, and again, I appreciate your time.
Likewise. I'll talk to you soon.
You will. Bye now.
Okay. Bye.